Most people plant flowers in spring, wait until fall, and wonder why their garden still looks like they just moved in. Here's the thing. June is actually the secret window most gardeners completely miss. Plant the right perennials now, and by late summer, your garden looks like you've been doing this for 20 years. By next spring, you'll be the neighbor everyone quietly resents at the HOA meeting. In this video, I'm going through 11 fast-spreading perennials, plants that come back every single year, multiply on their own, and fill your garden so completely you'll feel like you cheated. Some of these spread so aggressively, I should probably issue a warning. Consider this, that warning. Let's get into it. Sweet Woodruff. Let's start with one that doesn't get nearly enough credit. If you have a shady corner in your garden, the kind that gets maybe 2 hours of sun on a good day, and usually just grows disappointment, Sweet Woodruff wants to live there. This plant is a low, delicate ground cover, usually topping out at about 6 to 8 inches. It's got these little star-shaped white flowers that bloom in spring, and the foliage itself stays green and lush all season. Deer avoid it, slugs avoid it. Most pests seem to have made a mutual agreement to leave it alone. But here's what makes it special for our purposes. It spreads by underground runners. You plant a few small patches, and within a season or two, you've got a seamless carpet under your trees and along shaded borders. Now, some people say it smells like fresh hay when you crush the leaves. I prefer to think of it as the plant that smells like Saturday morning. Your interpretation may vary. Plant it in moist, well-drained soil under trees or along north-facing walls. Give it a little compost when you plant it in June, and then honestly, just let it do its thing. That's a solid opener. But the next one? The next one actually makes people stop their cars. Creeping phlox. If Sweet Woodruff is the quiet bookworm of ground covers, creeping phlox is the one that shows up to the party and somehow everyone ends up talking about it. In early spring, this plant produces such a dense carpet of flowers, hot pinks, purples, whites, lavenders, that it looks less like a plant and more like someone spilled a paint can down a hillside. In a good way. Creeping phlox spreads outward from its center, hugging the ground as it goes. It's perfect for slopes, rock gardens, or the front edge of a border where you want something low that cascades a little. It handles drought reasonably well once it's established, tolerates poor soil better than most, and comes back every year without you doing much of anything. June is a great time to plant it, because the blooming season is already over, which means all that plant energy is going straight into root development and lateral spreading. You're basically catching it in its most ambitious phase, pair it with taller perennials behind it. The contrast is spectacular, and you'll look like you planned it that way. Which you did, partially. Now, those two are wonderful. But here's where things get genuinely exciting. Bee Balm. I want to say this carefully. If you only plant one thing from this entire list, make it this one. Bee Balm, also called monarda, is a native North American perennial that spreads by underground rhizomes. Once it's happy, it spreads fast. Not call the authorities fast, but fast enough that you'll notice new growth popping up a foot or two away each season. Now, here's what makes it special beyond just spreading. The flowers are extraordinary. They look like little fireworks, these wild, spiky, tubular blossoms in deep reds, hot pinks, purples, and whites. They bloom in midsummer, right when a lot of other things have already finished, so you're getting color during the gap. But the real magic? Hummingbirds, butterflies, native bees. Your garden will feel like a nature documentary. The smell is another thing entirely. Crush a leaf and it smells like oregano and citrus had a very productive afternoon together. Some people actually use the leaves to make tea. I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying the option exists. Plant it in full sun to partial shade. Give it decent moisture. Divide it every 3 to 4 years to keep it vigorous and prevent the center from dying out, which is a thing it does because no plant is perfect. The varieties I'd recommend for June planting: Jacob Klein for deep red, Marshall's Delight for pink, and Raspberry Wine if you want something that sounds like a dessert and looks like one too. That's the crown jewel of the list. Everything from here is still excellent, but now you know the best one. Lamb's ear. Lamb's ear gets underestimated constantly. People see the silver fuzzy leaves and think that's a bit odd, and it is a bit odd. That's precisely why it works so well in a garden. It creates contrast, it breaks up all the green, it catches light in a way that makes everything around it look more intentional. The leaves genuinely feel like a lamb's ear if you touch them. I know that sounds like something I made up. It's not. Children and visitors will touch it within approximately 4 seconds. Plan accordingly. It spreads by rosette, meaning it pushes out new little clusters from the base each season. It's not invasive, just enthusiastically expanding. Deer and rabbits won't touch it because of the texture and the slight bitterness. It tolerates drought. It's practically maintenance-free. Use it as an edging plant, a contrast piece next to darker foliage, or a transition between sections of the garden. Plant it in full sun in June and water it in well. After that, you can basically forget about it, which for some of us is the ideal gardening experience. Black-eyed Susan is the perennial equivalent of that person at work who always seems to be having a great time. Cheerful yellow petals, dark center blooms from midsummer into fall, sometimes even October depending on your zone, attracts goldfinches who eat the seeds and apparently don't pay rent for the privilege. It spreads by both self-seeding and root division, which means it's working two jobs essentially. Plant a small cluster in June and by year 2 or 3 you'll have a colony. The key is to leave some spent flowers at the end of the season. Don't cut everything down because those seeds are the next generation. It's drought tolerant, deer resistant, they must have bad taste, and thrives in full sun with average soil. No babying required. Most people know black-eyed Susans. Far fewer people know what comes next, and it's the one that actually works in the worst soil you've got. Coneflower, Echinacea. Echinacea is having a moment, and honestly, it deserves it. These are big, bold, daisy-like flowers, classic purple-pink, but now available in oranges, yellows, whites, even deep reds. They bloom midsummer through fall. They attract bees and butterflies like a magnet. And the dried seed heads feed birds all winter if you leave them standing, which also looks genuinely beautiful under snow. Echinacea spreads by seed and by slowly expanding clumps. It's patient, it's methodical, it's the plant equivalent of someone who says, "I'm playing the long game," and means it. Plant it in full sun, well-drained soil. Divide the clumps every 3 to 4 years to keep them blooming well. And when seedlings pop up around the mother plant, which they will, either thin them or transplant them, you'll have more to give away than you'll know what to do with.
Yarrow.
Let's talk about yarrow, the plant that looked at difficult soil and said, "Challenge accepted." Yarrow spreads by both rhizomes and self-seeding, and it does both enthusiastically. In flat, open areas of your garden where you want something that will just take over and look good doing it, yarrow is your answer. It tolerates poor soil, drought, heat, and neglect at a level that borders on suspicious. If you've got a bank, a dry slope, or a patch that gets full afternoon sun and basically no irrigation, yarrow will be happy there when nothing else volunteers for the job. Flowers come in white, yellow, pink, and red. The flat-topped clusters attract beneficial insects, and the ferny, aromatic foliage smells clean and herby when you walk past it. Cut it back by about 1/3 after the first bloom flush, and it'll often rebloom. Leave some for seed dispersal, and then enjoy the fact that your most difficult garden spot is now handled. Creeping Jenny is one of the fastest spreading ground covers you can plant, and it looks like something out of a fairy garden. The chartreuse, coin-shaped leaves cascade beautifully over the edges of containers, retaining walls or water feature borders. It loves moisture. It can handle some shade. It creeps along the ground, rooting as it goes, and fills in gaps remarkably quickly. If you have a low, moist area in your garden where other things struggle, Creeping Jenny will treat it like a personal invitation. Fair warning. It spreads enthusiastically, especially in moist conditions. Keep it away from areas where you don't want it to wander. It doesn't hold grudges about being edged back, though. Very cooperative that way. Ajuga, boogleweed, is one of the most underrated ground covers in existence, and I'm not entirely sure why. It grows in shade, full deep shade, the kind of shade under old maples where nothing else bothers to show up. It spreads via stolons, little runners that creep outward and put down roots, covering ground steadily each season. In spring, it sends up short spikes of blue-purple flowers that are genuinely pretty. The foliage comes in green, bronze, burgundy, and even multicolored varieties. It stays relatively low, about 3 to 4 inches, so it doesn't overwhelm neighboring plants. Plant it in June under trees, along shaded pathways, or anywhere you want living mulch that actually looks intentional. Water it in well, and then watch it claim its territory with quiet confidence. Russian sage. Russian sage has a slow start, but once it finds its footing, it behaves like it bought the whole neighborhood. It takes a full season or 2 to really establish. People sometimes worry something's wrong. Nothing is wrong. It's just doing math. Once established, it sends up tall, airy wands of small lavender blue flowers from midsummer to fall on silvery white stems that look like something from an impressionist painting when they catch afternoon light. It spreads by underground roots, slowly but surely expanding its footprint each year. Full sun, well-drained soil, drought-tolerant once established, deer-resistant, because the aromatic foliage apparently isn't to their taste, which puts them and me in rare agreement. Cut it back hard in early spring, almost to the ground, and it comes back stronger. Ignore this advice at your own peril. Wild ginger. This one isn't fast. Let's be honest about that up front. It's the tortoise of this list, but it earns its place because it does something none of the others do quite as well. It makes a genuinely beautiful, dense, deep green carpet in full shade with consistently moist soil. Conditions where most plants send a polite decline. Heart-shaped leaves. Rich, glossy green, low-growing, about 4 to 6 inches. Spread slowly by rhizome each year, building a patch that's completely weed-suppressing once established. Planted in June in a shaded woodland area under large trees along a north wall, or in that one frustrating corner that never gets sun. Give it a couple of seasons, it'll reward your patience. So there they are, 11 perennials that spread on their own, come back every year, and give you that "I clearly know what I'm doing out here" garden without replanting every spring. The secret isn't working harder, it's planting smarter, the right plant in June in the right spot, with the right soil, and then letting it do what it was built to do. Here's a quick recap. For shade, Sweet Woodruff, Ajuga, Wild Ginger. For sun and drama, Bee Balm, Creeping Phlox, Black-Eyed Susan. For tough spots, Yarrow, Russian Sage, Lamb's Ear. For edges and spill, Creeping Jenny, Coneflower. If you plant even 3 or 4 of these this June, your garden this time next year will look like you hired someone. You didn't. You just watched a video. And if anyone asks how you did it, just smile, hand them a divided clump of bee balm, and say, "It just sort of happened." That's the gardener's greatest gift, making the plan look effortless.